Hello, I'm Karen Jefford, along with co-host Alessandro Calzolari from The Human Advantage. Today's conversation feels particularly fitting because we are joined by entrepreneur, volunteer, in fact he's got such a long list, broadcaster, novelist, Martin Webb, but also particularly fitting because we're in one of his homes, Regency Radio itself. So Martin, if we get any tech issues, we've got the right person on board, haven't we?
We have, hopefully.
So Martin's background is generally varied, from building and selling businesses to broadcasting and all those other projects, including working with Sussex Police. And now stepping into a very public conversation around becoming the next Mayor of Sussex. So for us at The Human Advantage, there's a common thread running through all of it. People, community, public conversations, and visibility, and that's why we're really here today, to have that conversation very relevant to The Human Advantage. Increasingly, people are not only looking at what business leaders and organisations are saying publicly, they're looking at how connected they are actually to the communities around them. So one thing Alessandro and I speak a lot about in The Human Advantage is the growing gap between business world and the charity world. Often both sides are seeking very similar things. You know, they're wanting to support people, their well-being, local impact, opportunity and trust. But they often speak completely different languages. So today we really want to explore leadership, visibility, social responsibility in practice, and what it actually takes to build local trust at a time where people feel increasingly disconnected from institution, politics, and maybe each other. So Martin, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
That's good. No, we're in your home. Thank you. So Martin, you've built businesses and platforms around people and community. What's made you now want to step into something as public as the Mayor of Sussex?
You said in your intro that I was going to be the next Mayor of Sussex. Now, the important thing about the Mayor of Sussex, it's actually the first Mayor of Sussex.
Okay, that's very important.
This is a brand new position. We've had sort of local mayors, but we've never had ever, a Mayor of Sussex. There's never been such a position. So I found out that this position was becoming available. I looked at what it would be involving, what areas it was covering, and decided I had the skill set. I was at a stage in my life where I had the time to be able to put into it. And I think I've got the experience and knowledge to make a good job of it. And, some of my track record hopefully will hold me in good stead for making doing the role in a competent sense, competent way.
So full-time job?
It's a full-time job,
What's going to happen to the rest of the Martin Webb world?
Well, the Martin Webb world is quite slimmed down at the moment because other than Regency Radio, I've got good people who do things for me, Right. So if I got the role, and let's face it, it's not happening for 2 years yet, so it's quite a long way off. I'll get myself in a position where I would throw myself 120% into the role and just make it work. It's so important that whoever becomes the first Mayor of Sussex doesn't mess it up.
No.
Because so many people are going to be looking at the new role, why we need it, what's it about, with a bit of suspicion. So it needs to go really well to start with. I think I've got a range of skills, the personality, knowledge, level-headedness to make it work, and that's why I'm going for it, really.
Yeah. You've got to be a lot of things to a lot of people, haven't you?
I think that's one of the problems, and that is probably one of the reasons why I'm coming at it as an independent candidate. So I'm not aligned with any political party, because I think we live in a very fractured political world where we're very polarised. People have got very extreme ideas. You've got reform and restore through to the Greens and everything in between. And people, there's not much common thinking at the moment about how we should do things, how we should run our society, how we should organise ourselves, or even how businesses should run, or taxation. So I think coming in as an independent, my take on the role would be obviously to have some good ideas and work hard, but it would be to try and act as a mediator, as someone in the middle to kind of smooth things over and get people working together. Because unless we get people working together, we're going to end up in a really bad place. And that's not just at Sussex level. I think that's at a national level as well. What the things that are happening at the moment with the by-election of Manchester and Andy Burnham, and then the potential run against Keir Starmer. It's just showing that being sensible and boring doesn't work. It hasn't worked for Keir Starmer. The more extreme voices tend to have more of a dominance in British politics. And I think as an independent, I need to try and bring those voices into more of a common ground of trying to work out what people want and what's best for the people of Sussex.
I'm interested then, based on what you've just said, there's a lot of talk nationally about trust and disconnection and people feeling unheard. From your perspective, what actually rebuilds confidence and connection locally?
I think by putting your, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
It's very easy for anyone to go on social media or on a podcast and say X, Y, and Z. You can't sort of change the fact of what you've been doing for the last 20 years. So I think from my point of view, the fact that I volunteered for almost 10 years for Sussex Police, the fact that I've worked with a homelessness charity since 1997, various other projects I've been involved with show that I'm not a flash in the pan who's just come along and fancies doing this job. I've actually shown over the last couple of decades that I'm committed to making my community better. I'm committed to working with different people, different groups of people, different charities, different organisations. And it's not just about trying to get a job now, in 2028.
I think what's also nice, you referenced being a mediator. You're listening to both sides and channeling your expertise, your experience to do just that, really.
I mean, I think that's a skill that comes from having been in business a long time, because being in business is about getting people or getting teams of people to work in the most efficient, harmonious, cooperative way possible. And being a business leader, being a director of a company, you need to constantly mediate, get people to see things from your point of view, to see it from their point of view, and to kind of navigate a way between problems.
Yeah.
And those skills I think would be directly applicable to the role of mayor. It's the same sort of skills, really.
So I'm very, very curious, Martin. So what role do you think businesses should play in supporting the communities they operate within?
I mean, that's a tricky one. I mean, I suppose every business has its own view on how they should help. My view,
Your view, yes.
My view on my business. So I used to run a chain of bars, late night venues, nightclubs, restaurants. So we were very much in the hospitality sector, and we had 36 venues across Brighton and Hove and beyond. And I think where I came from is that I always thought that my particular business was always quite superficial. We were dealing with people having a good night out and drinking cocktails or dancing. I never felt that we were providing a solution to world famine or providing a cure for cancer. So in a sense, I thought it was important for my business, myself personally, to use that horrible expression, give something back.
Yeah.
Basically do something more useful, to use the platform that we gained by being one of Brighton's largest employers to do something a bit more useful in the world. And I suppose that probably trickles down to other businesses as well. I suppose every board of directors has got their own motivation for wanting to do something good, but I think it feels like the right thing. It's the intuitive right thing to do to try and help the community in which you're operating.
Yeah.
And obviously I think as a human being, you just look around and see the things wrong in the world. I was involved with Off the Fence homeless charity in Brighton since 1997, and that just comes from a point of view that I hate homelessness. I feel privileged never to have been homeless, but I constantly want to try and help people who are in that position, And one of the pledges I'm making as potential mayor of Sussex is that during my tenure, I will try and end street homelessness in Sussex. That's one of my key pledges.
You heard that here, everybody.
Yeah,
Recency Radio.
but I do think in, where we are now in history, in a rich country, why are people still sleeping in tents?
Yeah. I mean, here in the home of Regency Radio, we've got somebody in Lancing living on the streets.
Yeah.
Which is a rare thing for us to see that in our own little village.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's common. I think most towns have.
They do. Yeah.
A handful of people who are sleeping rough. But, I mean, I know we're diverting, but it's such a complex issue, homelessness, because it isn't just about there being no homes available. It's about alcohol and substance abuse. It's about PTSD for anyone that's been in the military. There are lots of reasons why people end up living in a tent, and it's not always about just having a room available for them to move into.
No.
It's about having a range of support services that enable them to fix the physical and mental health problems that have led to them being on the street in the first place.
And you know what? We had a really interesting conversation with another charity, and those homeless people just want you to look them in the eye, because they are just like you and I. And the reason on the street isn't always drugs and alcohol. They've lost their job, their home, their relationship's broken up. Yeah, and it starts from just a simple thing that any one of us could happen to any one of us.
Yeah.
So it's a sad state of the world, isn't it?
I think all of us are only ever 2 or 3 stages away from being in that
don't they?
same position. I can well believe it. You know, something goes wrong, your partner kicks you out, someone dies in your family, you sink in depression, you have no money for a while, you know, you don't have any friends you can go and stay with and sofa surf, and next thing you know, you're buying a tent.
Yeah, but we're reassured, as the potential mayor of Sussex, you're going to solve it, Martin.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying it in a good way, because it's not an easy fix, but it's something I will commit to try and fix. Yeah.
I think at the very beginning you mentioned a very important thing. I interpret as like partnership. So you are not on your own when you build like a business. So you have a lot of people that support your mission, your business. So looking back at the partnerships or initiatives that work best in the past, what made them feel genuinely aligned rather than performative?
I think listening to people. I think you need to have good relationships with everyone within your organisation. I think you need to have a degree of empathy. You need to understand where people are coming from, what makes them tick, what concerns them. That may not always align with your views and the organisation's views, but you can only communicate effectively if you can put yourself in the other person's head, if you can understand where they're coming from. And I think some people have quite a combative management style, my way or the highway. That's not the way I'd ever operate. I would always try and explain where I'm coming from, make them understand me, and vice versa. So there is a more of a collaborative approach. I think that probably works a lot more effectively.
Yeah, by putting, probably I haven't mentioned you, but one of my 2 areas of expertise is called empathic marketing. How to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. And listening is one of the most important strategies. In particular now with the AI, if you're not able to read the room or understand the other person, AI cannot support you with that.
I mean, AI is a very new tool.
Yes.
And when I was running businesses a few years ago, there was no such thing as AI. You know, I know the current government is pushing AI as a massive economic booster for the future. I'm not so sure, because I think the dangers of AI are finely balanced with the benefits at the moment. The fact we're going to lose so many jobs, we're going to create unemployment. A lot of the AI companies are foreign based. It's a dangerous one. I think we need to be very careful as we go down that route of AI exploration and sort of spreading it to even more industries than it is in at the moment.
We did touch on it earlier before the podcast, didn't we? Saying it's a useful tool, but used carefully.
Which I think, and I really like your opinion. Sometimes people say with the AI, you can also try to solve very difficult problems like homeless. Do you think there is any potential for AI to become maybe more creative with potential solutions?
Well, I would hope so. I'm not an AI expert, but you know, I've read a lot about how it's going to revolutionise medical diagnosis, and it can read scans at a pace that people would take weeks and weeks to do. So that's fantastic. But I've also got other friends, for example, who are barristers, who are telling me that jobs are being lost right at the moment because AI can analyse case law for a particular case in minutes, whereas a clerk or a researcher would have taken days and days to do the same job. So there are already jobs being lost from AI, and I worry about the prospects for young people now. You know, the thing I've also read though is that for every technological revolution where people thought jobs were going to be lost, new jobs have been created in ways that we can't even think about at the moment. So I'm hoping that's the case now. I'm not terribly optimistic that is the case, but you know, people, we're humans. We're not evolving as quickly as AI and technology. We still need something to do. We need something to occupy our hands, something to occupy our brains, and we need physical interaction between each other.
We do.
Replacing a whole range of human activity with AI doesn't strike me as being good for humanity, but hopefully I'll be proved wrong.
Or what did we learn during COVID? We lost that interaction between everybody, and that was the biggest loss out of everything, wasn't it?
And I think those reactions from COVID are still being felt now, because the people now who are late teenagers, like my own son, they were kids during COVID, and I think they lost something, that socialization when they were growing up. So it is important, and they're kind of things that previous generations have totally taken for granted. Previous generations didn't really think about talking to people or meeting people, and that has a knock on into my old business. Things like pubs, restaurants. The advantage of those sort of businesses isn't just about making money. It's all about the socialization. Exactly. Pubs. How many, books have been scribbled down, poetry has been written, relationships started, political manifestos written on a beer mat in a pub. And if those places are closing down, what's replacing them? Sitting at home in your bedroom or your living room or your office, looking at a computer screen, is never going to provide that sort of catalyst for the creative juices to be flowing that a pub would do. So we need to be careful.
You touched on youth, and I couldn't agree more. Obviously, as a chief exec of a youth charity, young people are more connected than they've ever been, yet they're lonelier because they're connected digitally but not in person.
And I think that digital connection, through Snapchat, my daughter's on Snapchat all the time, it feels like a shallow connection. They are connected and they know lots of people, but it's not really...
Not real friendships.
It doesn't feel like... It's sort of very superficial. It doesn't feel like has a depth to it. You're not... I don't know. It just doesn't feel quite right to me.
Doctors are liking social media engagement now to smoking. It's an addiction.
Yeah. And the whole swiping, scroll.
Doom scrolling, as I call it.
Yeah, well, it is, isn't it? I'm guilty as an ex-person. I like to be on Instagram or whatever, looking at reels, but it is destroying our brain capacity. It's destroying our attention span.
Yeah.
I really encourage my kids to read books. They struggle to read books because a book is a great big long thing that takes a couple of weeks to get through, whereas looking through Instagram or TikTok is
instant, quick.
It's instant, quick. It's funny. It's an immediate laugh.
Yeah.
And I think there is a real danger there, but that's probably me talking as some old bloke who's out of touch, but that's the way it feels to me.
No, you're talking as a parent in current day. You're seeing it, feeling it.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to see what happens with this ban on under 16s using social media, which the government are talking about.
Yeah, Australia have done it, haven't they?
Australia have done it, but it's been very difficult to implement because there are so many workarounds. And these kids are obviously much more tech savvy than the people writing the legislation. So in principle, great idea, but it needs to be implemented in a way that actually works. But I've given my daughter notice. She's 14, and if they go along, she'll have to delete her apps.
She's on countdown.
You said something that grabbed my attention when, so you were very successful with pubs, restaurant, and said, I want to give back to society. So in your experience, why do good intentions so often fail to translate into lasting action or change?
I don't know, really. Tell me more what you mean.
Yes, so let's say I have the intention to do something good for society because I've already maybe generated X amount of money. Everything else is just to run the business. And I want to also be social responsible. But sometimes maybe I don't have enough time. There are a lot of things that they get in the way, and we don't actually practice what we preach for many businesses.
I think for many companies, and it wasn't so much in my case, but I think for many companies, investing time and effort and money into helping other people and doing work in charity sector or volunteering, that can have a massive commercial advantage, though, can't it? Because if you can culture an image that you are the company that cares, you're the company that gives X percentage back to your community, you are the company that is out litter picking or collecting something for charity, then obviously people are going to have a better view of you. So there is a massive commercial advantage as well for many companies in engaging in charity, in engaging with volunteering and doing things that wouldn't traditionally be seen part of your key role. I think, I won't name any companies, but there are lots of companies that that do that already, you know, and quite successfully. I mean, I suppose you could argue that's slightly cynical, but it depends what's in the heart of the person that's starting it, really, you know.
And actually, does that filter down from top down? You know, is it a culture amongst the whole organisation or just the leader? I think that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to try and make it the culture of the whole company. Yeah. You need to say that this is who we are, this is what we try and do. Please join us if you share our values. These ideas probably start at the top, but you kind of want to make sure that everyone buys into it. It kind of looks a bit sort of tokenistic if it's just something that people are being told to do. You need people to do it organically. People want to organise these events, be involved because they want to, rather than just because they have been told to. It's part of a company policy.
Yeah. Which probably leads me nicely into the question around coming back to your potential mayoral role. You know, what would you want businesses, charities and local communities to feel differently about working together?
As mayor, I'd want to make sure that businesses felt I had their back for a start, because I think at the moment businesses probably feel that they're all on their own. I've got a lot of ideas for businesses across Sussex. We need a massive trade show. You know, we literally live in one of the best counties in the whole of the UK. We've got the best people, some of the best tech. We grow some amazing things. We make some amazing products like wine from Whiston, from the things we grow. And
I just tested that, Martin.
I have tested it quite a lot. But the Whiston wine, incidentally, was the wine they used when President Trump came over to see the King.
Oh, really?
On the last visit. That was the wine they served at the banquet. And that's from here in Sussex, about 15 miles from where we're sitting now. So as a county that makes things and produces things, we've got Rolls-Royce based down at Chichester. We are, I think, in my head, the best county in the UK. Why would anybody want to invest anywhere else in the country when you've got Sussex? You know, we've got fantastic links to the
airports and things.
We've got Gatwick Airport, we've got Shoreham Airport, we've got Newhaven Link, we've got Shoreham Harbour. We are so connected, but we could be so much more if these things were drawn together. So we should have an international show once a year, maybe at the Brighton Centre or some other big venue, where we just sell Sussex to the rest of the world. You know, the other thing I'd like to do is that we need to be more entrepreneurial, and I would like to see more teaching of entrepreneurialism, because we're really bad in the UK for teaching these things in our school. We teach economics, we teach history, but no one teaches how to run a business. How do you work out your VAT? How do you cost a product? What's your net profit? What's your gross profit? How do you employ somebody? How do you grow a business? How do you borrow money? This is stuff that we expect young people to just gather in from the ether. It should be properly taught, and that's something as mayor I'd like to do in the higher education sector. Let's get some courses going. Let's teach people how they can turn, you know, a small pot of money into a big pot of money, but in a really responsible, structured and long-lasting way.
So, big support for businesses and trade, and let's do sales and boost education through building entrepreneurs. Where in the mix then could we put charities? Because they're often the poor relation, but actually fulfilling need, and often the first people that organisations or individuals turn to in that time of need. Yeah,
well, I'd say it's part of my role as mayor to link these together, to link organisations, commercial organisations, companies, with charities. You know, charities need to have more of a voice, and I'm quite aware that as soon as you hit a bad economic time, charity donations fall off a cliff. It's awful. And I would like to see charity literally beginning at home. Let's support local Sussex charities, because you tend to find that in the charity world, your massive charities, Oxfam, and I'm not particularly singling out Oxfam, but big charities, they drain the money, they get all the money, and the little local guys like Off the Fence, they just get forgotten about. So I'd work out some sort of mechanism, network, website for joining up Sussex enterprise, Sussex business with local charities, because I think local charities will have a much more of an impact in our communities than some of the national charities, perhaps. You know, let's look at the small people. when I say small, I mean the massive-hearted people who are doing micro work within our communities. Let's support them because they're the ones really making an impact.
Well, you've got our vote, you've got our attention.
Thank you.
We're absolutely with you in terms of joining forces in
it's important.
the business and the charity sector. One lasting question for you, Martin. What would you want people to say about your leadership in 5 years' time? That's a bit of a curveball question. I'm putting it out there.
Fair, common sense, practical, hands-on, down to earth.
And an all good, round, good.
Yeah, and not too political. Just not political. We don't need politics for a mayor. We just need someone who's competent, you know.
And sees what's really happening on the ground.
And connected to regular people, regular working people.
Yeah.
And not in the pockets of big organisations and corporates and billionaires. That's what we definitely don't need.
Yeah, I think this comes to a conclusion. I always share one insight from me. And what I think resonates between the three of us is the empathy one. Yeah. I want to listen you. I want to be in the an independent or an intermediate where I see you and you, okay, let me try to help you to join together. The first is, and the empathy one, and try to be the reference, because as you said, if I build a very strong personal brand, because I'm very I want to give back to society, that also attract better candidates. People that they are not, we don't need to force them to join our mission. They are naturally join us. So if someone wants to support you, contact you in terms of a potential mayor in the future, what might be the best way, or if they want to follow you on social media?
So you can follow me on social media. If you just put Martin Webb for Mayor into any browser, it will come up with all my socials. I'm on Instagram, on TikTok, I'm on Facebook as well. Or my website is www.martinwebb.com.
Okay.
Brilliant. Martin, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us on The Human Advantage today.